So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why I cut off my narcissistic mother. I did make the mistake of letting her back in, so I cut her ass off twice, okay? But I'm going to tell y'all in this video about the first time that I cut her off and why. Everything that led up to that point and basically, how my life was after that, right? So I guess the most appropriate way to start is from the beginning. As far back as I can remember, my mom has always been weird. Okay, she always been a little weird. And I mean this in the sense like just when you're a kid and if you grew up with both of your parents, I mean, you see them interact with each other first, right? So I remember her interacting with my dad and she was just always a selfish ass person, always putting herself first. There was multiple times I remember that she would just leave the house for days and my dad would have to go find her in his car. Mind y'all, this is back in the 90s, okay? So this is before cell phones and shit. They had pay phones, okay? So I remember going in the car with my dad trying to find her and she would always make everything seem like it was his fault, Then when I got a little older, I started to recognize my mother's narcissism when I was comparing her actions and the way she treated me in comparison to the way my friends interacted with their mothers and how their mothers were more nurturing, were more involved, were more supportive. One thing I can definitely say is that my mother was like the least involved with me. Like she couldn't care less what I got myself into. Thankfully though, I was always a child who was very studious, very intelligent, very responsible. My parents never had to get on me about doing my work or like getting up early for school. Like I was just not that type of kid, like I actually made it pretty easy for them, So, I basically was always that type of kid. I was like pretty self-sufficient, right? Self-sufficient. So I never needed a lot of guidance, which later on in life, ironically, would probably help me in this situation I find myself in now. So I would just remember comparing, my friend's mom and the way that they would act with them. And I was just like, there's just not something right with my mom, right? But the word narcissist, it existed at this point, but it wasn't like popularized. You know what I mean? Like on TikTok, like I feel like that word, a lot of people kind of like pin that to certain people's behaviors, even if they're not a narcissist. They're like, you're acting like a narcissist. So it's kind of a more known word now. But at that time, especially me being a child, I just was not familiar with why she was acting like this towards me specifically. I did grow up with two younger brothers, and the way that she treated them versus the way that she treated me was completely different. It was like night and day. Okay. I can recall a lot of times where my mother would include them and she would like seclude me. There would be a lot of times even where she would tell my brothers that she loved them and she wouldn't tell me that. And mind y'all, I'm in the same room, okay? So it was blatantly obvious. It's not like I was like, oh, like making this up in my head. No, literally she would just tell my brothers that she loved them and then she would say goodnight and she would walk past me like I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? Just trying to make me like feel bad, in any way she could. Also, when I was younger, I had a issue with my weight, right? I was like extremely overweight, I would say, and there would be times where she was also the same size as me. So she would just take my clothes and be like, oh, well, you're not wearing this today, so I'll take your clothes. There would be times where she would make me feel bad about my weight. She would make me feel bad about my hair. She would always say that my hair is nappy and that it was ugly. She would just try to make me feel bad any possible way that she could. The other thing, so what kind of changed the way that things were flowing in this situation of me growing up is I decided to lose weight. Okay, mind y'all, like I said, self-sufficient. No one in my family has lost a significant amount of weight except me. Okay. And I could also say that my brother has, but he had just done this like recently, and he was like a baby when all this was going down. So at that point, it was me, that was losing weight, and everyone around me was noticing. And so the way that my mother reacted to this, like, it's like as if this was the worst thing that could have ever happened to her, right? Because she could no longer take my clothes because she didn't fit in them anymore. Instead of, like, berating me or belittling me, she had to kind of support me because everybody else around her was supporting me, right? And she didn't want to look bad. So in order for her to, like, save, face, or, so she wouldn't, like, self-sabotage, she would just kind of join in when other people were. But I know, like, in my heart that she never meant that shit, right? So that changed the flow of things in the house, right? And at that point, it became, like, blatantly, like, obvious to me. I'm just like, yeah, whatever was going on with you before this, it's, like, running rampant now, right? Like, because her narcissism was just, like, more than ever, okay? She would then, like, try to switch things around, like I said, she would used to try to seclude me from certain events. Now she wants to include me in certain events, okay? She wants to use me and my weight loss to make her look like she was a great and supportive parent, right? So there was a lot going on there in my house, right? That's just, like, the tip of the iceberg. That things I can remember right off the top of my head. It was just irritating stuff like that. Another thing I can remember, when it was, like, a important day to me, like, I can remember my graduation day. She wanted to pick the restaurant that we ate at. Okay. And she was just, like, really determined to eat at a certain place. And it was only until another family member stepped in and was like, let Lexi, me, choose the place. And she was upset about that the rest of the fucking day. It's like she chose certain times to, just act out because just too much attention on me. And she just couldn't deal with it. The other time was when it was my birthday. Okay. I can remember I would always ask for a German chocolate cake. That's my favorite cake. To this day, it's my favorite cake. And my mom went to the store and she brought a tres leches cake. Even though I'm Latina and I'm Hispanic, I do not like tres leches like that. Not like that. Not as much as I like German chocolate, okay? But what I'm trying to say is she would make an event that was important to me somehow about her, even if it was something like that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe to y'all it could be a small thing, but to me, I'm just like, why would you do that? Why would you do that today? You know what I mean? Like, out of all the days, right? So she would just do shit like that, so let's fast forward to why I actually cut her off. Like, what was the last straw? Because between what I told y'all in my childhood and my adolescence, and between the time I cut her off, there was a significant portion of time that had passed. And during that whole time, her narcissism was present. Okay. So there's a lot more stuff that, I think some of the time, like, my mind really just kind of represses it and throws it in the bag. But when I make these videos, sometimes things start to come up, and that's when I feel like I want to talk about it, because I want to remember, just so I can, like, do the healing that's required and, move on and accept the shit that happened. Right. So, that's why I enjoy making these videos as well, not only to spread awareness, but because it does something for myself as well. So a lot of stuff happened. Okay. What made me cut her off, was really the passing of my father. So 2019, May 10th, my dad passed away. My dad was basically a candidate for my 600-pound life. And I mean that, like, with everything I have, okay? My father was extremely obese, and basically that's what killed him. He also had congestive heart failure. He had kidney problems. His brain started to retain water. And the fact that he was bedbound and just not trying to get up, everything escalated very quickly, okay, with his health. I should not say escalated, it basically declined, actually, very quickly. He was always in and out of the hospital, like, for a whole year and a half, in and out of the hospital. He would be there for a week or two, then come back, week or two and come back, like, home and hospital, home and hospital. That was his life. And if it wasn't the home and hospital, it was him in the bed. He didn't want to get up. I don't know really what was wrong with my father at that time. Looking back on it now, I could say that he was probably depressed, and for a number of reasons. But for what, I only have ideas, but I'll actually never know, because I don't have that, opportunity to ask him why anymore. So He ended up passing away May 10th. From that point, my mother, my narcissistic mother, was our only parent. She seized that opportunity to let her narcissism just run wild. And what I mean by that is she took complete advantage of the fact that she was our only parent, and she tried to basically, like kind of, I want to say prey on us, but that's how it felt. Completely took advantage of the fact that we were grieving. You know what I mean? And to me, just that idea alone is sick, because you're supposed to be a mother. Why would you take this opportunity right now in this moment to take advantage of us? Mind y'all, it's not like we're strangers or something. We're her kids, So my mother knew that my father had left us a significant amount of money. Okay. My dad had left me and my brothers money. Okay. So mind y'all, something that is a side note that should be noted, my father did not leave anything to my mother. Okay. So just in case people think I'm tripping, if the spouse does not leave their other spouse any type of like inheritance to cover something, that means that they don't trust them. Okay. He didn't even leave her money to cover the funeral or him being cremated. He left that responsibility completely up to me and my brothers. Okay. So that lets y'all know that my father knew that something was not right with my mom. Okay. So just in case anyone decides that they want to trip on my video, that's what that's there for. That's what that side note is, important to talk about. Okay. Because spouses usually don't do things like that. Right. So the other thing is, my mother knew, like I said, my mom knew that we had this money. She tried to manipulate us so bad, and even tried to get her boyfriend at that time. And mind y'all, my mom started dating 2 months after my dad passed away. Tried to get that boyfriend to text me and say, oh, you guys need to consider having a place for your guys' family so that you guys can be together and this and that. And my mom was trying to get us to agree to the fact that we needed to find a house together, and that she needed to be the owner and her name needed to be on it, and she was going to get her dad to co-sign for it. It was going to be everybody's name on these pieces of paper, on these documents for this house that me and my brothers were going to buy. Everybody's name except ours. When I started to realize that, and I just started connecting the dots, I came out of my grieving period for a second, because I was just like, you know what? Wait, hold on. Okay, I know I'm sad and shit, but I ain't never been stupid. I ain't never been stupid, girl. Okay. And I was just like, I really think that a part of me wanted to believe that because my dad passed away, that this could probably just change her a little bit, that she would be the mom, or even just the person, that remotely has a good heart to do the right thing, right? But it didn't. And that's when I realized, I'm just like, you know what? This person doesn't care, doesn't give a F about me or my brothers, really, right? Especially me, though, because the way that she was treating me during that time, y'all, I can't even tell you. Every day she would try to make me feel bad. Every day she would try to remind me that she was here for us, and that she didn't have to be here for us. When my dad passed away, she didn't have to be there for us. And that if she wanted to leave us there by ourselves, then she would leave. At a point, I just told her, I'm like, go ahead then, get the fuck out. Since you want to leave and you think that we need you, get the fuck out. And that was the turning point. I started to connect the dots, and I was like, you know what? This lady, something's wrong with her. She's mentally ill. But right now I can really see who you are in the core of your soul, and there's just nothing there, So I remember I did have an offer on a house, and in order for me to get out of that offer, I had to break our little contract. So I was asking the owner to make these certain repairs, and because he declined to do the repairs on the house, he backed out of our offer, and I was able to get my money back. When I told my mother that happened, she was so upset with me. And I said, you know what? You want us to buy you a house? Why don't you give us some money for the down payment? Why don't you run this shit on your credit? When I started putting everything back on her, all the things that she was putting onto me specifically, I started to give it back to her. That's when she started to be getting defensive, and she tried to say that I wasn't being fair, and that I'm trying to be selfish with my money and all these things like that. And I was like, you know what? I remember when I had asked my father what he wanted me to do with the money that he had left me. And you know what my dad said? He said, you can do whatever you want with it. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever I want with it. And my mom was so sick that I had said that to her. She was so fucking sick. So after that, I told my other brother, I was like, I'm not doing this house shit no more. I'm like, if you want to go move in with her, y'all go together and you find your own stuff, but I'm out. You know what I mean? So after that, I remember I had moved to California for a little bit to get away. Mind y'all, at the same time, I was going through a divorce. 2019 was not your girl's year. A lot, okay? A lot. But I had came back to Chicago to finalize my divorce. During that time, I had moved out into an apartment. Now, I moved out into an apartment and a series of events had went down, okay? I want to make another video about this, but in short, my mother has a sister that's a crackhead, okay? Like, she basically is a crackhead. Me and, you know, her sister, which she is my aunt, but I refuse to call her that. Me and my mother's sister got into it as she brought up the fact that my dad passed away. She said, that's why your dad isn't here anymore. Y'all, when I tell you that I've never been to jail, I really never been in any type of trouble, actually. But that day, I was willing to risk it all because the way that I wanted to hurt this bee, I wanted to put her in the motherfucking ground, for real. And that was like the one time I could say I think I really lost control. And my ex at the time was like holding me back, and her man was there too. And they were both like trying to hold me back and stop me because when I tell you I wanted to get to this bee, I wanted to get to this bee, okay? But she ended up leaving. The police got involved. It's a long story, y'all. Okay, so she had basically illegally evicted me from that apartment, right? Because I was I think co-leasing, but it was never official. Okay, it was a big mistake. It sounds like a stupid situation to get yourself into, and it was, but it was a real big lesson, and it let me know who was there for me and who wasn't, you know? So after that happened, during this whole time, my mom knew what was going on. Okay, she knew that her sister was doing this, and my mom came to the house in the midst of everything and was like, what's happening? What's going on? And I was like, your sister is doing this and this and this. My mom didn't do shit. My mom just stood there at the door looking at me like, what do you want me to do? And so I told her, I was like, I need you to take, I had a bunny at the time. I was like, I need you to take my bunny and I need you to take my cat because me and my ex, we're going to have to find a place to live. I would have moved back in with her, but she had already moved her boyfriend's son into my room. So I couldn't go back there before anybody asked why I just not move back because of that. My mom didn't even want to take my bunny or my cat. She didn't want to help me at all. She didn't want to help me, you know? And it was in that moment that I realized I was like, you know, this person just doesn't give a F about me. You know, she doesn't. She's literally throwing me out to the wolves. Her sister is literally kicking me out of this crib illegally and she doesn't want to help me. Like, okay, this person is my mom, right? So I ended up staying with my dad's brother, my uncle, and his wife, you know, for a couple months. My mom was still trying to talk with me. And then later on, I had got into it with my mom's then boyfriend because he was mistreating my little brother. So I went over to my dad's apartment, right, where my mom and her new boyfriend are living. And I basically checked her new man because I'm just like, don't talk to my brother like that. My mom tried to get in the middle. And when I tell y'all, I was ready to choke this lady out. I was ready to choke her out. Once again, my brother and my ex, they stopped me, okay? From that point, I decided I'm not messing with this lady no more. This lady has caused me nothing but problems, okay? Nothing but problems and issues because she does not want to be a mother. When it's time for her to be a mother to me or my brothers, but especially me, she is absent, okay? She does not know how to be, you know, a guardian, how to be somebody who's nurturing. She doesn't know how to show love properly. I'm grown as fuck. I don't need this shit anymore, okay? So I was always just trying to do the right thing, you know, in every situation. What I thought was right, what I thought my dad would want me to do, because he wasn't there. And I often feel like because my father wasn't there, my mom, like, you know, she was finally, you know, free to do whatever the fuck she wanted. And this is how things were playing out. And she was taking out all of her narcissism and aggression on me because I wasn't allowing her to do that. I wasn't allowing her to be a narcissistic loser ass mother, you know? So I would hold her accountable for shit, and that's what put the strain on our relationship. When I decided to go no contact with her, and she realized that I wasn't responding to her or her texts, or I wasn't, just anything. I was giving her nothing. She then proceeded to tell my little brother that I need to come get my bunny and my cat, or she's going to put them in a shelter. Okay. Now, I don't know where y'all live if you're watching this, but a lot of the shelters around here are kill shelters. So that's what she basically told my brother. And so the next day I came to come get my bunny. I came to come get my cat. And I chose the best places to rehome them. The first place for my cat, she went with my cousin, one of my cousin's friends, and they didn't have any animals. She was the only animal, and they like sent me pictures and snap chats of her that she was basically living like a princess, you know? So I was so happy because I loved my cat. And my bunny lives on a farm now, y'all. Like, I literally have the best situations for my animals, and he can run and be free and just do what he needs to do as a bunny. You know, I think it was way better than the situation I had him in. So I rehomed them. Then the next thing, because I stopped going, I still was no contact with her. Still chose not to talk to her after that. I didn't even say shit about the animals. I just came and come got them and I left, you know. She wasn't even there when I came to come get my animals. Only my brother was. Then after that, she was mad because I was not talking with her. She told my brother that I needed to go to their post office and stop my mail from coming to the house. So I told my brother, I was like, okay, one, I'm going to let you know, if you keep on being like her messenger boy, I'm going to start cutting you off. I'm like, because if she has a problem with my mail coming to the house, let her ass go waltz up to the fucking post office and tell them something, because I'm not doing shit. I was like, that sounds like a her problem. I'm not doing nothing. So my brother, after that, stopped relaying messages from my mother to me because he knew that I was serious, that I would stop fucking with him, you know? So after that, a significant amount of time passed, okay? It was like a year into the no contact. This is where she started like using my little brother, the same brother that was giving me those messages, that she missed me. She wanted to know how I was. And for my birthday and for Christmases, my brother would visit me here at my house, and he would come over with gifts. And these gifts would be from my mom. The first gift that he gave me, he told me it was from her. And I told him I didn't want it. I was like, I don't want nothing from her. Send it back. So he didn't give it to me. The second gift he gave me, he said it was from him, but it was really from her. And so, she would try to send me gifts. She had sent me also one day, through my brother, a necklace with my father's ashes in it. And she thought that, I guess, that would mend the situation. I was like, no. There was not one Mother's Day, not one Christmas, not one of my birthdays, not anything significant that happened from the time I cut her off until the time that I decided to let her back in that would change my mind. Nothing had changed my mind, you know? But during this time, 5 years had passed, y'all. 5 years had passed, and I went no contact with my mom. And to tell y'all the truth, during that time, it was the most peaceful in my whole life. And it's sad to say that, like, how can you not know peace? Like, even when I was like a kid, this shit was going on. When I was in my teenage years, my adolescence, this was going on. My early adult years, this was going on. So the fact that I had 5 whole years of not anything about her is the most peaceful in my whole life. That lets y'all know something, okay? And this is the person that gave birth to me, okay? So it's like, I really feel like naturally as children, we want to be close with our parents, we don't want to have that disconnect. It's like in our DNA, that we want to be close to them. It's in our nature. We want to be close to them. It's just like what my mother was doing just made no sense to me on any type of level. So it's like when I knew that the shit that she was trying to do didn't make sense, I would call her out on it. And that's about the worst thing you can do if you're in the presence of a narcissist, because they don't like to take accountability for anything, So during that time, she tried to love bomb me. She tried to send me gifts. She tried to have my brother reach out to me and things like that. I just wasn't having it. What ended up happening was, and this is what I feel was like the peak of everything, okay? And mind you, I still was no contact with her. she had ended up going to a psych ward. Okay. I feel that my mother went to a psych ward because her narcissistic tendencies were just eating her alive inside. I really feel that that's what was happening, because up to that point, I mean, she doesn't really have a hard life, y'all. She doesn't. She never really worked a hard day in her damn life, you know? So for her to just end up in the psych ward, and my little brother is the one who told me all this information. He was like, you know, our only connection, right? And he told me this even after my mother told him not to. He told me this information because he said he felt like I needed to know because she's my mom. And I was just like, what was the point of her going to the psych ward? So apparently she wanted to like off herself. She said she was going to get in her car and go drive off a bridge somewhere. And I was just like, you know what I really think is the problem? I think that she doesn't have anybody to project her narcissism onto, because that was me for so long, right? And because she doesn't have that anymore, the only person that she can project her shit onto is herself. Okay. And that's like a self-destruct button for any narcissist, right? They don't do that. They don't like to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm the problem, right? So I really feel that because my mom had no one to push her shit onto, that's what landed her in the psych ward, right? So after that, even that interaction, y'all, that still did not make me talk to her. It didn't make me talk to her. So that's pretty much how I, you know, was living my life after I decided to cut her off. Well, during that time that I wasn't speaking with her, I did a lot of self-healing. I gave a lot of time to myself. I was working a really great job. My life was great. You know, I really didn't need her. And I know it sounds crazy that, oh, you don't need your mom. No, because I had a lot of people ask me that question when I would say, I don't talk to my mom. And they're like, I can't imagine not talking to my mom. And I'm like, well, your mother probably isn't a narcissist like mine is, you know? But, you know, people would always kind of, certain people would kind of look at me strange, you know, because I don't have a relationship with her. Or they think that something's wrong with me because I don't have a relationship with her. But, you know, no matter what people thought, whether they were supportive or not, I still, you know, stood solid. You know, I stood my ground. You know, I'm not going to change anything because I know the truth, right? And it's like, she's not a person who is mentally well. She's not a person that I need to be around. She tries to, you know, push the limits on me, and she doesn't appreciate my presence, you know, at all. So, you know, there would be I can't even tell you like if there was times that I actually missed her, because I really feel like I didn't, because I just knew that the way I was living my life without her was just better. It was better for my mental health. It was better for my growth. It was better for me just to realize that the people that I lost along the way to get to this point, I really didn't need them. They were just there, you know, like they never really served a significant purpose. It's like, you don't play a real role in my life, so I'm not missing out on anything just because you're not here, right? Life keeps going on without you, whether you like it or not, you know? So that's pretty much how life was. And then I had made the mistake to let her in, except for this time was a very short amount of time, okay? But I think I'll save that for my next video. So I don't really know how I'm gonna watch this video back, and I don't know like if I'm gonna like it or not. I'm gonna upload it though, so hopefully it doesn't seem like I'm all over the place. I tried to be organized about, you know, the way I told this story, but telling y'all like decades worth of narcissistic abuse in 30 minutes, yeah, it's gonna sound like not all the puzzle pieces are there. This is a hard subject to talk about. It's even harder to be going through it, and then you have to realize what it is that you're going through and come to terms with it, right? Then, you know, there's recovery stages and there's grieving stages. There's a lot that goes on with narcissistic abuse, right? So if y'all want to leave your stories in the comments and are okay with me telling them, that's something that I wanted to do, just to shed light not only on my story but others as well. If you guys need some advice, I plan on making some life advice videos on how to cope with the loss of your narcissistic parent when you're going no contact, or some things that kind of helped me along the way, so that, you know, it was a little bit easier for me to kind of just move on, even especially after the second time. You know, after the second time I was kind of like, okay, we're done. Like, it's curtains for you. That's my story. let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And yeah, I'll be here, but I'm gonna probably make a couple other videos, so if you see me in the same outfit, it's from the same day. Anyways, y'all, please take care of yourselves. Please love yourselves. I love y'all, and thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.